The Sony PSP. It's been a long time since anyone has talked about this little guy. The system was on store shelves for 7 years until the PS Vita came along, and to this day, we're still learning about some features of the PSP. Today we'll be looking at some hidden gems on the handheld console. Nostalgia time! Before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to become part of our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here are 10 things you didn't know your old PSP could do. Number 1. MP3 player. Imagine that it's 2004, the iPhone won't be invented for another couple years, and you need a reliable MP3 player. You're looking at a classic iPod, but you don't want to sink all that money into one thing that just plays music. You want to game and do other things too. Well, the PSP has you covered. While any smartphone today can take calls and play music, and consoles are turning into multimedia platforms, the PSP really revolutionized the all-in-one media handheld device. The portable console was able to run A-Track 3, plus AAC, WMA files, and more importantly, MP3s. With memory sticks being as cheap as they were at the time, you could save hundreds by investing in one and using it while you play on your PSP. Number 2. Watching films and TV shows. So the phrase Netflix and chill is done to death, but how about MP4 and snore? No? Still lame, yeah. Anyway, the idea of multimedia on the go was a budding concept back in the PSP's time. This was a time when portable DVD players were all the rage, and cars came with their own built-in DVD players too. These antiquated pieces of technology are hardly seen anymore since downloadable content has become all the rage. Well, what helped push that revolution was the PSP. While the PSP could play audio files, the system could also play film and TV shows if they were in MP4 format. The system is not without its limits though, so downloading them onto the PSP could take some time. Patience, young one. Number 3. Podcasts. With the death of radio and other forms of broadcasting traditional media, podcasts are actually on the rise. Yeah, it turns out people really do like listening to long-form content, even if they're talking about something as mundane as the weather. With the PSP Sync feature, you can go to your Media Go folder and download all your favorite podcasts. With the PSP's limited capacity, you may need to ditch the films and TV shows you stashed for that MP4 and snore night you had. Okay, yeah, we'll stop trying to make that a thing. Sorry, moving on. Number 4. Pre-Spotify music streaming. Believe it or not, streaming was around before Twitch. Well, if you want to get technical, the advent of live broadcasts was really what made streaming possible to begin with. But in any case, let's continue. We may want to open Spotify or Apple Music or SoundCloud to stream our music, but Sony actually had its own music streaming service. It used to be called Curiosity, but is now called Music Unlimited. You can get this service on your PSP today. This makes sense as Sony also had their own record label and would want a place for their customers to stream music. Number 5. Internet radio. Now you might be thinking to yourself what the difference is between internet radio and a podcast. Well, it's really simple. A podcast is pre-recorded and internet radio is live. Think of it like the difference between a live stream and a Let's Play. We're talking in video game terms here, folks, making it simple. Not many people know about this feature, but the PSP had an internet radio function all on its own. So instead of using your laptop or computer to listen to internet radio, you could simply use your PlayStation Portable to listen to your favorite internet radio dramas and talk shows. Number 6. Running emulators. Perhaps one of the greatest pastimes of PC gaming is running emulators on your favorite games from the last decade and put in all kind of cheat codes. Today, smartphones can run mobile versions of emulators with little to no problem, but the PSP could do this before the advent of smartphones. Back then, the best you could hope for with a flip phone was a game of Tetris. With the PSP, you could run any kind of emulator available at the time and even play flash games. With this feature, the PSP was one of the first systems with downloadable gaming content. This was not just limited to emulators though. If you had the know-how to make a homebrew game, well, you could put it on your PSP as well. Number 7. Skype calls. One useful but severely underutilized innovation today is video chat, mainly FaceTime. People rarely use FaceTime because of how buggy and inconsistent it is. Even so, if all those problems were fixed, people would still rarely use FaceTime because of the sheer lack of utility. Why would you need to video call someone when you can either text or call them up normally? However, an application that has worked far better than FaceTime is Skype. With the PSP's connectivity, the handheld console could host Skype calls through text, a far simpler and effective form of communicating. With the built-in mic, you could potentially use the call feature, but when you're gaming, the last thing you want to do is video call someone. Number 8. Using the PSN. The PlayStation Network has its ups and downs. Mostly downs, but we're not here to complain about the PSN. Downloadable content is going to surpass hard copies any day now at this rate, and the fact that Sony was getting on board early only shows that the PSP's ability to connect to the PSN. From here, you could look at your profile and play the games you had on your account. Pretty great. This feature was far above the built-in web browser, however. If you wanted to check out this feature now, it won't work. Sadly, Sony stopped letting the PSP access the PSN in 2016. Number 9. UMD films and concerts. There are pros and cons to all physical media formats. Watching your favorite content downloaded on a memory stick seems fine, but playing on the PSP's UMDs could save up a lot of space. The UMD was the PSP's way of storing and playing games, but blank versions were also available. Still, the UMD system had its problems. They drained the battery too quickly and were slower to boot up compared to a memory stick. Still, while memory sticks were inexpensive, UMDs were cheaper because of the aforementioned problems. Even so, watching your favorite movies on a UMD had its advantages, as they were easy to get a hold of. It's all ease of use, baby. Number 10. Browse the web. So browsing the web may not seem like a super awesome feature now with the advent of cellular data, but in the years prior to that, before smartphones, surfing the web was limited to just your computer and a few select phones. As anyone who owned a flip phone can tell you, accidentally hitting the mobile web button and having it load up was akin to a mini panic attack, because the rates for going online with your phone were so outrageous. A-cha-ching! Thankfully, we had devices like the PSP that could connect to Wi-Fi. However, it came with some drawbacks like the fact that it didn't support Flash or Java. But hey, it beat the alternative, which was nothing. And those were 10 things you didn't know your old PSP could do. Did you know any of the features in this video? Did we miss any unknown PSP features? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to The Gamer and stay up to date with all things gaming. Thanks for watching. Bye!